Well, Congress has been overstepping its authority and has operated for too long without constitutional restraint. At least that's the feeling of our next guest. And get this, he is a member of Congress. Arizona Congressman John Shadegg joins us now to tell us what he plans to do about it. Congressman, great to see you today.
Good morning, Shannon.
All right, how bad
it's morning out here in the West.
Yeah, well, just a little bit afternoon here, but most of the country is still morning. I read a recent statement that you said it's gotten alarmingly bad, this issue of Congress overstepping what it should be allowed to do under the Constitution. Tell us about it.
Well, the United States Constitution grants specific powers under Article 1, Section 8 to the United States Congress. It says that it can coin money, it can conduct foreign affairs, it can do enumerated things, and it spells those out, and there are 18 of them. Then in the Bill of Rights, the 10th Amendment says that powers not specifically granted to the United States, nor restricted by the Constitution to the states, are reserved to the states or to the people. That is to say that the founders intended and wrote into the Constitution that the federal government could do certain things, but it can't do just anything it feels like. And yet, it is doing whatever it feels like. Recently, for example, Nancy Pelosi was asked, where does the Congress get the authority to compel you and I to buy a particular insurance policy? She responded by saying, is that a serious question? Pete Stark, a Democrat member of Congress out here from California, said recently, there are no limits on the power of the Congress. Both are simply wrong. The Constitution sets specific limits on the power of Congress and reserves the rest of the powers of government to either the states or to the people themselves.
All right, so you have a specific piece of legislation. You have introduced it numerous times before. First of all, tell us what it's all about, what you hope to accomplish. And secondly, are your other members of Congress who like to pass these bills going to get on board?
Well, more and more are getting on board. The bill that I've introduced since the 104th Congress is called the Enumerated Powers Act. And it really is simply an attempt to remind members of Congress that there are limits on the powers of Congress. And what it would do is it would require that anytime a member of the U.S. House or anytime a member of the United States Senate introduces a bill, they would have to look into the Constitution and find the specific provision of the Constitution that authorizes that legislation. We could then have a debate on the floor of the House about whether they're correct or not, and then the United States Supreme Court could, if the legislation passed, actually rule. And in some recent Supreme Court decisions, the court has actually said, look, Congress passed a law that it had no authority to pass. As for support from my colleagues, the peak number of supporters on the House side occurred in that 104th Congress. That was 73 co-sponsors, but now we're back up to 70. In the intervening years, the number of supporters kind of dipped because we weren't looking at Congress abusing its powers. Now, under the current Congress, there are more and more members who say, yeah, this is a good idea. More importantly than that, in the United States Senate, my colleague Tom Coburn has introduced it, and there are 24 co-sponsors. That's a pretty significant number of members of the United States Senate who say, look, Congress should live within the limits of its power as spelled out by our governing documents.
Well, we will certainly keep an eye on it. I have a feeling you would have a lot of popular support outside of the Beltway as well. Congressman Shadegg, thanks for taking a break from your August recess to join us.
Popular support outside the Beltway turns into support inside the Congress when members hear from their constituents.
It sure does. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.